Beauty and lack. So this is the more formal essay after my conversational thinking with beauty and lack, and I did it very informal, right? Most of you that saw the video kind of just witnessed me think on the spot and try to progress my thought in this arena. But this essay, I would say, definitely presses deeper, a little deeper, and I use etymology specifically, which really makes an impact, and hopefully we can see that by the end of this essay, and especially my obsession with distinguishing possession and responsibility and why this matters with everything. But so let's go into the essay. The thesis and method. So the attempt here is to explicate the paradoxical nature of beauty as something that is lacking, resulting in a fulfilling experience. The method to which we will confine ourselves is etymological and phenomenological. The use of these methods will hopefully elucidate such a thesis adequately. Possession, in contrast to responsibility, will be the essential words to create the opening that we wish to inquire. Can beauty be possessed, or does beauty demand response? Possession. Rooting as early as the 13th century in Latin as possess us. I'm pretty sure that's not how you actually say it in Latin, but let's put it that way. So it means to have and to hold. This is a grasping without intent to release. Another definition is to have in one's control, which expands our inquiry. Can beauty be controlled? To what extent do we control beauty? Or have we fooled ourselves in believing that we can control beauty? I will leave these questions in suspension for the time now. Responsibility. In the 15th century, obsolete French, responsibility is defined as answerable. And if we go further down in the 13th century Latin, respondere is to promise in return or answer to. The etymology of this word magnifies this as a movement that is visible or invisible. When are we ever not responding in the course of our daily lives? So this is what I mean by visible or invisible. The intertwining. Knowing what we know now through etymology, we can feel confident to assert that possession is a kind of response, and responsibility is all things that are answerable. Therefore, responsibility can be placed above possession in the schema of all things that can be responded to, whereas possession is a particular response that no longer leaves open any other response to be given. It may help to conceptualize responsibility as a dynamic movement that leaves open the exit and entrance of all possible responding, and possession as a static and sterile grasping. For those that are still unclear at what we have unveiled, possession is a particular form of responsibility. So back to the original question. Can beauty be possessed, or does beauty demand response? References become necessary here, specifically the essay on beauty by O.G. Rose. I will link that in the video, in order to expand and address the complexity of beauty itself. However, there is one concept I will borrow, which is conditionality. Beauty demands conditions to be met in order to witness beauty. I will not go into the rabbit hole about what is the standard for beauty, or can beauty be standardized, whether these are man-made standards via media portrayal of what beauty should be like, or simply relative to the culture, society, and individual, are not the scope of our inquiry, but what can be elucidated is that beauty still demands conditions to be met, even in the maintenance of the object itself. Beautiful art and literature also demand conditions such as the capacity to perceive and to be literate. Our responding to beauty is by meeting and or maintaining the conditions demanded. Though the examples I gave are few, I believe it is enough to point that beauty demands response. But the question still remains, can beauty be possessed? If possession is to have in one's control and hold, the very existence of conditionality counters this, because it is the conditions themselves that hold and control us. The reversal is then true. It is beauty that possesses us rather than us possessing beauty. Beauty as lack. The responding to beauty as a lack is a fulfilling experience in contrast to the attempt of possessing beauty, which paradoxically possesses the individual. The more one attempts to possess beauty, the more empty one feels by creating an affect of persisting anxiety. To leave beauty as a lack is to witness beauty rather than possess. So I introduced now a new concept, which I call witness, which is another kind of response. Here, the A is B shows itself as then having beauty through accepting this lack. To have beauty is to let beauty hold you rather than you attempting to hold beauty. One can meet the conditions for beauty without attempt to possess beauty. This is the importance of responding as a witness to beauty, where it can decide to arrive and to depart. This paradoxical intertwine is perhaps not quite easy to understand at the onset. However, this field of inquiry now opens a new set of questions that extend beyond beauty. New questions. If nothing can be possessed based on the existence of meeting/maintaining conditionality, then is it only the objects of desire that can possess us? Can a human being ever truly possess anything if these propositions are true? Or are we then mere receptacles to the movement of responses that are demanded from us? Okay, end of essay. There's a lot here, but if you felt lost at all in this essay, to really break it down on a layman understanding, it's this. If you look up the history of the word responsibility, it means to be answerable, right? And if you look up the history of the word for possession, it means to have hold, to have and to hold, right? So it's the intent to have and to hold. And when I say that responsibility is this idea of answerable, right? It means that everything is demanding. Responsibility is to answer, right? To respond. It's in the word itself, right? Responsibility, respond. And what I'm saying is that possession is a kind of response, a kind of answer. And this is where I connect that possession is actually a form of responsibility. So I hope that clarifies this intertwine that I was attempting to explain in the beginning of the essay. That responsibility is the general, all things that can be answerable. And then there are the responses, which I identify possession as a kind of response, a kind of answer. So this is how I come to the conclusion through the history of the word, the history of language, etymology, about why it's a lower form or a manifestation of responsibility. And then I include the word witness in here, even though I don't break it down in the historical aspect of the word. I still introduce the concept of witness as a form of responsibility that is chosen as an answer. Okay. So hopefully that clarifies that mess. Then there's my argument on conditionality, which basically all I'm saying is we can never truly possess something if conditions exist. This is a very strange argument, but hopefully it follows, and I'm willing to accept any flaws in it, but I think it's an interesting argument about how if conditions exist, then possession itself can never really exist. And what I mean by that is it's not us that can possess. It will be the other that will possess us. And we can call this object of desire, or, use a Lacanian framework of language, which is the other, right? If you're familiar with Lacan. And so just to kind of re-summarize the argument, what I am saying is if I create a condition, okay, in the very effort to meet those conditions on a continual basis, which I call maintaining, in order for me to have the object of desire, I have to continuously meet its conditions, either through maintaining or reaching up to it. And if we go back to what possession means in the historical sense, what I am saying is that the conditions have more control over us and hold us more than we expected to, right? It's this reversal that goes on, right? It's like you're attempting to possess the object, but what really happens is because the conditions exist, actually the object of desire possesses you because of the conditions that you have to constantly meet or maintain to have the object. So what I'm saying is you don't really have the object. It's the object that has you. And it's through these conditions that you either create, right? Because the funny thing is, it's almost like conditions become this ontological separate entity where even if I put it into existence and I create the conditions, I'm still at the whim and call of the conditions if I want to have the object, right? And I have to continuously maintain and meet the conditions if I want to sustain my having in that object. Because if I don't continuously meet the conditions, then the object goes, right? It leaves. And so what I'm saying here is that if possession is to have and control, we have no control in this sense. It's the conditions that control us, and it's the objects that control us through its conditions. That's the better way to phrase it. It's the objects of desire that control us through its own conditions, regardless of whether we actually construct the conditions or not, which is really mind-blowing when you think about it, because even if I create the standard to, let's say, keep a clean room, I am now always at the whim and call to those conditions to sustain a clean room. And if I don't obey the conditions that I made, then I lose it, right? And so there's almost like no escaping. You either become a slave or you lose it. But and then this is where the importance of witness comes in as a response, because witness is another form of responsibility that can meet the conditions and maintain the conditions. But here's the paradoxical reversal again. It's that by becoming a witness as a response, you're not concerned with whether you can maintain the object or if you lose the object, whatever the case may be. To be in a response of witness is to always leave open the possibility of the object of desire to exit and enter on its own accord. Which, ironically, when you do this, is when the objects of desire don't necessarily possess you, but in fact they hold you, which is different, actually, which is completely different. It is to be held in, but not possessed. And I know I did use the word hold as a form of possession, but the thing is, this is a different kind of hold. This is a hold of indifference, right? It is a hold of indifference. It's not a kind of hold that has no intent of releasement. And maybe I should have made that distinguishment a little bit more clearly when I said hold just now. But anyways, if you really want to understand this witness concept, it's really similar just to letting go. It's a kind of response, right? To witness something is not to want to possess it, but to meet it and allow its entrance and exit. Right? If it wants to leave, it can leave. If it wants to arrive, it can arrive, right? This is what it means to be witness, right? You can either witness its leaving or witness its entrance. And this is the kind of responsibility, right? Response that I believe is more preferable in contrast to possession, where you're not concerned with holding it and where you accept it holding you. So it switches completely. But hopefully that clarifies something more. And yeah, hopefully that clarifies. And so leaving beauty as a lack is, again, not to possess it, but to witness it. And I think reading O.G. Rose's paper on beauty will really dive deeper into it, which is why I didn't go that in depth in my essay about this, because they've already addressed it, and pretty well, I'd say. All right, take care.